Hey guys, welcome you all in this model. And in this video, we are going to see the topic from grade 7. Let's get into the topic. So you could see the image in the screen. Can you guess what topic is going to be? Can you guess what picture is that? Can you guess who is he? So we have a lot of questions about the pictures, right? So it seems to be a stranger. Someone is covering his face, right? We don't know who he is, right? Yeah. So we are going to see the topic My Unknown Friend. And it is written by the author P.H. Leacock. So he is the one who wrote this prose. So let's see something about the author. Stephen P.H. Leacock, FISC, was a Canadian teacher, political scientist, writer, and humorist between the years 1915 and 1925. He was the best known English speaking humorist in the world. He is known for his light humor along with criticism of people's follies and was born in 30 December 1869 in Swanmore, United Kingdom, London, and was died on 28 March 1944 at Toronto, Canada. And about his education is Upper Canada College, and his movies is My Financial Career. He did. And let's get into the summary of the lesson. So, My Unknown Friend is written by the author Stephen Leacock, as I told already. The speaker narrates an incident that takes place while he is traveling by train. A stranger enters a compartment with an expensive suitcase and strike up a conversation with the speaker as if they are long lost friends. Trying not to show that he cannot recognize the man, the speaker carries on the dialogue, trying different techniques to learn the stranger's identity. So you could see that in the first para itself. And as a speaker, we can consider him as the author Stephen Leacock, and he was traveling on the train. At a time, there's an unknown friend, that is what he mentioned as a stranger. He came into the same compartment where he is, and he doesn't know who he is, but he just acted like a friend, okay, unknown friend. So he started to recognize him. The speaker started to recognize him, but he was failed in that. Okay, so that's what happening here. He pretends to know what the stranger is talking about when he mentions an old place under laws. He himself inquires about random people using generic names. He prides himself in his ability to remember people and in case he does forget someone, to act with presence of mind in a situation like this till he is able to place a person. So it's very difficult to him to remember a person, the place, where, and what he is talking about. The stranger is talking about. Okay, that's why given that. When the train stops at the station for a short time, the stranger acts panically. He has missed his stop and needs to get down and send a telegram. But he cannot open the suitcase, thereby losing precious time. The speaker, anxious to help him go away, offers him money to send the telegram. The stranger hurriedly grabs all the money and gets down, leaving the suitcase behind. So what is happening in the scene is there's a suitcase. The stranger's handling with. Okay, so he can't open that suitcase. So he's just acting like, oh my God, my station is there. I should want to get out. I should want to get down. But the thing is, he can't open the suitcase and he needs to send the telegram at that particular station. Like that, he's just pretending. So finally, he just started to act and he's just taking like fumble like anything. He's taking the a bunch of keys and trying to open it, but he can't. Okay, so his friend, I mean the speaker, thought, okay, he's my old friend. Just he's thinking like that. He thought his friend. Okay, so what he did is just giving some money to him to send the telegram. It shows that the speaker accepted him as a unknown friend, right? That's it. So he helped him. But what happened then? See there. The stranger hurriedly grabs all the money and gets down, leaving the suitcase behind. The train starts moving again, but the stranger does not come back. So, as the speaker wonders who the man was, another stranger arrives with the porter. He too recognizes something in the speaker's compartment, but it is not the speaker, it is a suitcase that he had left behind in another compartment. The speaker realizes who the first stranger, his unknown friend, was. A trickster who pretended to know him in order to lead him to the situation where he could leave with the speaker's money. The speaker was outsmarted. So you know that who he was? That unknown stranger is not his friend. Actually, he's just a trickster. He's a cheater. Something like he's just pretended to him as his old friend, but actually he's not a friend, right? He just cheated, and the author was cheated. Actually, the speaker was cheated. Okay, yeah. This is how the story ends, and I'm going to show you the animated video of this lesson. It will be very easy to you when you are seeing this video. Yeah.
He stepped into my compartment. He carried a $50 suitcase that he put down on the seat. Then he saw me. Well, he said. Well, I repeated. Who would have thought of seeing you? He said, shaking hands eagerly. You haven't changed a bit. Neither have you, said I. And all the time, I was wondering who he was. I couldn't recall him at all. But when a name or face escapes me, I never lose my presence of mind. I know how to deal with the situation. My friend sat down. It's a long time since we met, he said. A long time, I repeated. I sometimes wonder where the old gang are gone to, he said. Say, I said, where's Billy? This is a safe line. Every old gang has a Billy in it. Billy is ranching out in Montana, said my friend. And where's Pete? I said. There's always a Pete too. Old Pete's quite changed, answered the man. Why, Pete's married. I started to laugh too. I meant to write to you, said my friend, when I heard of your loss. I remained quiet. What had I lost? Yes, the man went on. Death is always sad. Death? Oh, that was it, was it? I almost hiccuped with joy. That was easy. One has only to sit quiet and wait to find out who is dead. Yes, I murmured. Very sad. Strong and bright to the last, I suppose. He continued. Yes, I said. Able to sit up in bed and smoke within a few days of the end. He looked confused. Did your grandmother... My grandmother... Pardon me, I said. I mean able to sit up and be smoked to. As I said this, the train slowed down. My friend looked quickly out of the window. His face was agitated. That's the junction, he said. I have missed my stop. I should have got out at the last station. He hopped up and fumbled at the lock of the suitcase with a bunch of keys. I'll have to wire back, he gasped. Whatever's the matter with this lock? My money's in the suitcase. Don't bother with the lock, I said. Here's some money. Thanks, he said. Grabbed the entire roll of money out of my hand. He sprang from the train. I saw him through the window moving toward the waiting room, but not very fast. The porters were calling, all aboard! There was the clang of a bell, a hiss of steam, and the train was off. Idiot, I thought. He's missed it, and there was his $50 suitcase lying on the seat. Then I heard the porter's voice again, guiding someone through the car. Ah, looked all through the car for it? Sah, he was saying. I left it on the seat in the car there, said the angry voice of a stranger, a well-dressed man who put his head into the door of my compartment. Then his face beamed with recognition. But it was not for me. It was for the $50 suitcase. Ah, there it is, he cried, seizing it and carrying it off. I sank back in dismay. The old gang? Pete's marriage? My grandmother's death? Great heavens! And my money! saw it all. The other man was making talk too, and making it with a purpose. Stung. The next time I fall into talk with a casual stranger in a car, I shall not try to be quite so clever.